Yeah, I was talking about
OFAB.
that organization called OFAB, and I was talking
Yeah.
about yeah. So I have a document here. Maybe I'll scan it and send to you. We could show it
No.
in some subsequent. So if you look here, you'll see this document called it's called gene editing. You know, gene editing technology, an opportunity for a food secured Nigeria. Now you
Mm.
look at this document here. It's what you call a policy brief. It's
Wow.
a policy brief. And when you look at the end of this document, I'll let the document speak for itself. You'll see here the country director. I don't know if it's clear in the camera.
Yeah, I can see it.
Great. So you see the country director, OFAB, deputy director, NAPDAC. So that's the name. Dr. Rose Gidado, PhD, deputy
Wow.
director, National Biotechnology Research and Development Agency, and country coordinator, OFAB OFAB Africa Nigerian chapter. That's OFAB Nigeria. And
Wow.
she authored that document that I just showed to
Wow.
you.
Wow.
Now, remember, I talked about the origin of, okay, just a minute. Let's look here. Let's look at the bottom of this. So this document has partners. This policy
Mm.
brief has a lot of partners. So I'm just going to let the document speak for itself. You can see all the
Yeah.
names there.
Yeah.
You can see some familiar
USID.
names there.
Yeah. Yeah. I can see. Yeah. Yeah. The usual suspects. Yeah. We
USAID,
can. Yeah. Yeah.
USDA, the
Yeah.
usual
Yeah.
guys, right?
That says
ATF,
that says everything.
right. So, I mean, we could actually just publish these documents and
Yeah,
then
we
round
will
up the space.
send it to me, and then I'll put it out there.
Yeah, so I'm just trying to show us that, these things, for a long time, we've always been excited when we see foreign partners like this. They actually put this thing here because we feel that we're going to have more confidence in
Mm.
whatever is written in here because I mean, how do you go wrong with USAID involved in your document? How do you go wrong with OFAB, with the Federal Ministry of Environment, ATF, and what have you? How do you go wrong with it? In fact, the people who are supposed to guarantee biosafety, they're also here.
Yeah. Yeah.
This is I mean, look at their logo here. This is the biosafety logo, right?
Wow.
This
Wow.
organization here it's like how do I put it now? They are supposed to be in the middle.
Mm.
The people guaranteeing biosafety.
They're meant
They
to
are
be
not.
regulators.
Yeah, they're the regulators. How is the regulator made as a promoter of gene editing technology?
Wow.
How? You are the referee, for God's sake.
Wow. Yeah.
Why is the referee wearing the Chelsea logo on his jersey? And he's
Yeah.
supposed to be officiating a match where Chelsea is playing.
Wow.
So anyway, let's not jump too far in. Let's
Yeah.
slow down a little. Let's go back again and look at the the organization called OFAB. Now, the head of OFAB, like I just showed you, is a woman, a Nigerian called Dr. Rose Gidado. She's credited with being the one responsible for bringing GMOs to Nigeria. So imagine how big the conversation of GMOs are. It's resting firmly on this young woman's shoulders.
Mm.
That's number one. Very important point to note. Very, very important point to note. Okay, so we continue. OFAB gets into the Biotechnology Research and Development Agency and begins to, I mean, they've established connection. So they've established connection from mother base in ATF. So ATF successfully plugs into Nigeria's Research and Development Agency and begins to produce policy briefs. Think about it. They begin circulating it. I have a whole folder here from OFA, whole folder. I attended the biosafety conference. I hope they invite me for the next one. I hope they really invite me because I really hope they do. I'm going to push for an invitation so that we can be a part of whatever it is the biosafety guys are doing. So you have a whole, I mean, look at the amount of publications from OFAB, so many of them, so many publications for OFAB, so many.
Wow. Wow.
I
Wow.
have another one, CRISPR gene editing technology and the future of Nigeria's biotech industry. Another one here.
Wow. Wow.
And of course, it also still has the regular people signing it off. You know, you just have so many of their documents in this place. And, you know, okay. So that means OFAP successfully has plugged into Nigeria's research and development agency. And it didn't just plug in. The woman who was responsible for bringing the country director of OFAB at the same time is a federal government staff.
Wow.
So when you think about it, he's both in federal government and at the same time he's heading an agenda organization. So then the question is, okay, so what's wrong with OFAB? Why are we, what's wrong with all these arrangements? This is public knowledge, like, she even put it here. So what's wrong with the whole thing? Guess what's wrong? Number one, last year, you're gonna see we had a lot of this last year, This year, maybe because we started talking, it kind of like reduced. Last year, you had a lot of federal government publications on GMOs, biotechnology. In fact, you will see federal government hosting press conferences, federal government hosting uh, what have you, conferences. There's, in fact, they had what they call the Maiden Biotech Conference last year. It lasted for like 5 days. They had that last year also. And the federal government was named as being the one pushing all of these things. All the news articles going out with federal government. But the actual fact was that it was OFAB. So think about it.
Wow.
It was actually OFAB. OFAB were the ones bringing the funding, you know. OFAB were the ones, you could see it on their website. It's on OFAB's streaming page. They're streaming it on their Facebook, streaming it on their YouTube. All the conference materials are OFAB. So you could say that OFAB is a developing partner. But in this case, when this particular developing partner also holds a federal government position, it's no longer the federal government. It's not the federal government. And last year, something very interesting happened. This is not the first time that GMO is becoming a hot topic in Nigeria. Last year, it was a very hot topic also, but maybe not at this scale, but it was quite a national conversation last year also. So everybody in the space had to somehow go and talk about it. Everybody had to, it was like, imagine this Summer Slam where you have all the wrestlers, they come into the ring from time to time,
Yeah.
So we had
Yeah,
that last year.
that's the conference that I saw all you guys, Retendo and all you guys together.
That one was even the public hearing in November. That was in
Okay.
November. Now, this
Okay.
was even in the middle of the year, in June. GMOs were trending on the internet. It was a big conversation. Everybody was talking about it, just like it currently is. And everyone had to start doing their PR, going to the TV houses and stuff. So, in one of those rounds, the Director General of NAFDAC was invited by Arise TV, and she went. And in that very popular interview now, she stated very explicitly that GMOs were not safe. In fact, the moderator had asked her that is this NASDAQ? And she was like, yes, NASDAQ's position that GMOs are not safe for human consumption. And he was like, why? And then she was like that until they see credible evidence, credible research that GMOs are pesticides. And she's correct because that's what it is. You take insect, you take the genes, insectidal genes from the bacteria, and you plant it in another organism, then you have made that organism become the pesticide. So she was correct when she said GMOs are pesticides, and there is no credible evidence that it is research that it is good for human consumption. He said that very explicitly in an interview that many of us watched live. I didn't watch the reportage, I didn't watch it afterwards. I watched it, I sat in front of my television and I watched it live. Now, immediately after she dropped that interview, the NDMA, these are the regulators now, you saw them in bed already with I'm sorry, NDMA in bed with them here. Now, they immediately put out a news article cautioning NAFDAC. How will, because right now, NAFDAC could actually publish that article to say federal government says GMOs are pesticides. Because NAFDAC is also federal government. So
Yeah.
this is two federal government agencies taking opposing sides in a particular
Wow.
conversation. So
Wow.
NAFDAC could do what NAFDAC has been doing to say federal government says GMOs are pesticides. So because it was already looking like a conflict in position on GMOs, NBMA quickly releases a warning to NAFDAC. Now, the whole Nigeria knows who NAFDAC is. Everybody knows NAFDAC.
Yeah.
Everybody. We grew up
Yeah.
knowing NAFDAC. And 99.9% of Nigerians had no idea who NBMA was until very recently. Almost every Nigerian didn't know that an agency had been created to guarantee their food, and they had no idea. So let's look into the creation of that agency before we go back to when the science of biotechnology began to grow in Africa, around the world, you know, at the Organization of African Unity, um, they had to set up, they had to pull together some scientists from around Africa to commence the conversation on Africa's position in biotechnology as well. And one of them, who I'm very close to, his name is Professor Johnson Ikiri. Professor Johnson might actually be watching this right now. Let me just give me a second. Let me be sure that I shared this to him. He may be watching
Okay.
this. Let me
No
just be
worries.
sure that I shared this to him. Just a second. Uh, all right.
Yeah, guys, please share this, share this, share this, share this. Whatever you are, share this on your platforms. This is the information that we Africans or Nigerians need to know, because there's an infiltration. Basically, there's an enemy within that's basically causing all these problems. And if we're not compromised, if we're not complicit, the outsiders will never infiltrate us. Basically, what has happened here is that our systems are compromised. As you can hear, people in our governments are in bed with the hegemonic control, hegemonic powers. This is basically where we are. Guys, our sovereignty, our food sovereignty is at stake here. You know, the reason why we're posting this or doing this is basically to inform people of what's going on. We're not doing it for the sake of doing it. We're doing this for people to be aware that we are being co-opted. We're being controlled externally. So basically, our decisions are not our decisions, but external, controlled. But our own people are the ones who are basically pushing the agenda because they've been bought. You know, I'll let Segun carry on.
All right. Thank you. Just I needed that break to try to get more people on board. I had to
Yeah,
share it to
yeah,
friends. All right. So this biosafety. So the OAU then had to start looking into our position in Africa on this particular science. And they set up a committee that negotiated, and in the process, there was a document called the Cartagena Protocol, and the Cartagena Protocol was basically uh, a guiding document on how we can accept GMOs, biotechnology, because I mean the science is a risky one. You could lose your natural biodiversity in the process of accepting this science. So you have to come with a lot of let's let everyone. It's a conversation everyone has had to look into. And Professor Ekpere told me that they had to come up with what you call the precautionary principle inside the protocol. And that precautionary principle emphasizes that a lack of full scientific certainty should not be used as a reason. Sorry, just a second. Just a second.
No worries.
Okay, the precautionary principle has articulated in the Cartagena Protocol essentially states that when there is a threat of significant reduction or loss of biodiversity, the absence of complete science certainty should not be a barrier to implementing measures to avoid or minimize that threat. What it essentially says is, if you see that this thing is going to harm you guys, or it's going to lose, you're going to lose your biodiversity, your society is going to be affected by this technology, discard it, just drop it. So it's like a precautionary principle, and it's embedded in that particular protocol. And Nigeria is a signature to it. So based on this, and it's in the Cartagena protocol, based on this particular document, the biosafety um, society, the biosafety commission, or what have you, agency, was born. And in Nigeria, in the process leading up to the setting up of the NBMA, there was a biosafety committee that was set up, and Professor Ekpere was even the chairman of the biosafety committee that was set
Okay.
up here in Nigeria to look at our best, taking the best steps towards ensuring that we had proper structures for biosafety in place in Nigeria. And they drafted they drafted what we know as the MDMA Act of 2015, the documents leading up to this. And Professor Perry drafted these documents. Him and his team then they worked on the NBMA. It wasn't even called NBMA from what they proposed. It was something else. I can't remember it now. But they worked on that document. And then at the final hours of working on this, suddenly from OFA, a team came in and then started lobbying everywhere.
Mm.
Started lobbying everywhere, going from National Assembly to sorry, just I want to open an article actually. They started
Okay.
going from National Assembly to they invited Professor Perry, everyone come on board, let's look at this thing, we're here to help. This is technology, we are good at it. And to cut the long story short, what was finally adopted as the NBMA Act of 2015 was totally different from what was initially submitted by the Biosafety Committee. So you're looking at this was submitted, this was submitted, or this was used. And
Okay.
the one that was used actually had a lot of fingerprints of OFAB in it, heavily lobbied by OFAB. And also, as at this time, an organization had been registered and operational in Nigeria called Monsanto Agriculture Nigeria Limited. Now, if you're very familiar with the company called Monsanto, you would know
Yes,
that
we are.
you already know who they are. They did
Yeah.
very little introduction. You guys have a whole Wikipedia page that talks about how they have they've had a lot of illegal business around the world. I mean, who does that? Who has a whole Wikipedia page for illegal Monsanto business? And then you have a whole sorry, just a second. I'm trying to look for a particular article. It's on that article is on the Premium Times in Nigeria. It's an editorial on it's a whole editorial on Monsanto, how they lobbied in the MBMA Act into Nigeria. It's a whole editorial on it. I hope they haven't taken it down because of late they've been taking down a lot of articles, a lot of past articles on the internet, a lot of backtracking, by agencies. So it's possible that they've taken it down. But I have about it here.
Wow.
I don't know if you can open this URL on your side. Let me just see if I can send it to you.
Okay.
It's not opening here. Not opening here. So I'll just forward it to you. If you can open on your side.
No
This
worries.
URL needs to work very well. I've tried it many times. And I hope it does open. Not open on my laptop.
Yeah,
So
guys. Yeah. Yeah. Carry on. Carry on.
we're looking at so Monsanto gets in the race also, and eventually we have the
Okay.
NBMA Act of 2015, totally different from what was originally, you know, put up by the Committee on Biosafety, and thus begun Nigeria's walk into GMOs. That's where it began from Nigeria. So OFAB now is sitting on the now. Remember, OFAB is in NAFDA. That's not
Mm.
Biotech Research and Development Agency, leached onto them. And in fact, the head of OFAB is also deputy director of NAFDA. And
Wow.
guess who is sitting on the board of the regulators? NAFDA.
Wow.
So how does the regulators, how does NAFDA, infiltrated by OFAB, how do they sit at the board of the guys
Wow.
who are supposed to ensure that GMOs are
Regulate.
safe for us or not safe for us?
Hello, Segun. With yeah. Hello, Segun. Can you hear me? You're dropping. You're dropping out a little bit. Guys, just bear with us. Due to connectivity, we're in Nigeria, so it's a bit choppy. Just bear with us, please. Yeah, what Dr. Segun is doing is basically giving us a background in terms of how deep the infiltration is. So the fact that you have all these, the OFAB, the Monsanto, the federal government in cahoots together, and they're basically creating a policy that's going to be implemented in the food chain of food sovereignty of our country. So based on what he's saying there, you can actually see that the system is actually basically compromised. So basically, there's no safeguard in terms of who is looking after the interest of Nigerians. There's nobody. So basically, the hegemonic control is basically infiltrated our system. So our people are now the mission managers or the gatekeepers of the hegemonic power. And this is basically what we are facing as people. This is what we're facing. This is deep. When we do all these things, when I do all these programs, all I'm doing is basically to let us understand how deeply compromised we are. That our own people, our own institutions are basically in bed with those who we should be kicking to the curb. Anyway, Shogun, carry on, my brother. We missed you there for a bit. Yeah.
All right, thank you. Thank you so much. Yeah, so what we've, in a nutshell, what we've successfully established
Yeah.
is who the OFAB is
Yeah.
and how they came into Nigeria, how they
Mm-hmm.
are currently connected to Nigeria's Biotechnology Research and Development Agency, and
Mm-hmm.
now they are sitting on the board of the regulators. You're looking at a puppet. You're looking at a puppet master just stringing the whole thing and
Yeah.
controlling both the technology and the regulation of the technology. And
Wow.
that's why you can see the DG of NBMA came out on national TV in Nigeria very boldly, very, very boldly. And I must commend her for that level of boldness. You know, you have to be bold for you to come and say trash on TV like that. And she said that Nigeria needs GMOs to attain food security.
Yeah.
That's the regulator now. That's supposed to be the referee.
Wow.
And she comes to say, if it was Rose Gidado saying that, I'll be fine. I mean, I wouldn't expect anything less from Rose Gidado. But here is the DG of NBMA coming out very bold to say that Nigeria needs GMOs for food security. How do you explain that? So that's we've just established that on one side. Let's look at some other interesting parts of how this thing works. So who
Yeah.
is controlling ATF? Let's go back to the mothership. How does ATF operate? Who's behind ATF? And what do we who's funding ATF? I think that we need to look at that so that we understand how GMOs get funded in Nigeria. It's a very important thing to do because when you trace the money, you're able
Yeah.
to trace what's going on. So I just want to
Absolutely.
read this. I'm going to read this chronologically, beginning from 2000. Listen to this. 2008, an organization sends $35.8 million to ATF. And the reason for that was to develop drought tolerant maize for small farmers in Africa. Same organization sends $200,000 by 2010 to support conferences that enhance knowledge sharing and awareness on biotechnology and contribute to building an enabling environment for decision making. What you just read here, that 200,000 is AKA to organize conferences and lobby policymakers. That's what that 200,000 then means in a nutshell. Next, the organization sends $1 million to ATF because it for general operating support. Then it shares another $3.9 million to enhance knowledge sharing and awareness on agricultural biotechnology for improved understanding and appreciation. Then it sends $50.5 million, same organization, to develop and distribute improved maize hybrids for Africa that are drought tolerant, insect resistant, and higher yielding. $50.5 million, same organization. Then it distributes another $4.7 million to create global public goods by selecting successful germplasm for global distribution, along with data to create strong, viable, and sustainable two-line rice hybrid. This was in 2012. This is before we even began conversations on GMO. We didn't
Wow.
even have it approved in Nigeria. These guys were already on the run.
Yeah.
Then he sends another $104,000 to support increased participation of Africans and South Asian scholars and policymakers at the 2014 meeting. This was in 2013. They sent the money ahead. Another $1.4 million to, of course, then another $4 million, then another $10.5 million, $10.5 million in July 2015. This is right after Nigeria approved GMOs. And it says to enhance knowledge sharing and awareness on agricultural biotechnology. Then $11 million comes in the following year. It says to address systemic failures in maize foundation seed, what have you, blah, blah, blah. Then another $399,000. Then another $27 million. This is by 2018. Then another $4.5 million. Then
Wow.
$18.2 million by 2019. $4.8 million. $2.5 million. Then we've come to 2024. 2024, the shooting for $19 million. Then they're shooting another $200,000. Then another $1.2 million, $10,000. Then $5 million and $500,000. Now the $5 million was to support the production and distribution of seed of insect protected drought tolerant maize to help Nigerian farmers improve their productivity and resilience. This was last year. They are talking about telomeres, GMOs. All this funding came from one organization. One organization. I mean, the total is you're looking at well over $207 million, and that money goes to AATF. Question: who is this organization?
Yeah, who is the
The Gates
organization?
Foundation.
Wow.
All of this is coming from the Gates Foundation.
Wow. 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 Wow.
So when you look at
Oof.
it, you're tracing it now. You know, the topic of this is the
Follow the
profit
money.
streams. Follow the
Yeah.
money. So we've gone from the Gates Foundation to AATF, from AATF to um, uh, OFAB, from OFAB
OFAB.
to the Ministry of the to NABDA, to the Ministry of Science and Technology, to NABDA, then to the biosafety guys. So
Wow.
this is it, and this is the part of the conversation that many people don't
Mm.
look into. This is it. This is how these things go. So if you're there, you're wondering how these guys are operating, how they're getting funded. And, we also need to remember that they are not the only ones that are, they are not the only ones, they are not the only ones that are funding AATF. One of the main people funding AATF is the patent owners, are the
Yeah.
patent owners rather,
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
seeds called
Yeah.
Bayer,
Yeah.
Monsanto.
Wow. Wow.
Now, the seeds, what you call telomeres is actually Mon 87460 and Mon 9034. These are Monsanto. The Mon there means Monsanto in all clear sense. So you're looking at Monsanto seeds becoming the main uh, source of food for Nigeria and
Shogun, this is actually
Africa.
sorry, Shogun, this is actually crazy. Obviously, because of time, we're probably going to end it on that topic today. We might just come back to do another one. But Shogun, based
Okay.
on what you just said there right now, is basically, I'm kind of obviously I know these things, and obviously me and you have had a conversation, and I know how deeply entrenched these people are. But where does this leave African farmers? Because if we lose our indigenous seeds, if we lose it, what does that leave us, African farmers? In terms of obviously, you can see how expensive our food is right now, how we're struggling because of all the insurgencies and insecurity. Where does this leave African and Nigerian farmers, my brother? Let's conclude on that.
So very quickly, um, I was at the African Union this year, and I spoke to the myself and Rotendo. We were there together, and we asked the then outgoing Commissioner of Agriculture very direct questions about about GMOs, and he said in her home country, Angola, that GMOs were not accepted. And when you look at the reason why Angola banned GMOs, they said because they wanted to protect their over 800 identified variants of maize. That's why they didn't want it. Now, I went that route so that we understand the implication, like you're saying,
Mm.
where does this lead African farmers, the smallholder farmers. These are people that have received seeds from their parents, their grandparents, their great great grandparents. So the first thing
Yes.
that this does is that you're going to lose your natural seeds that have the ability to regenerate itself and provide sustainable food for you and your population. That's the first thing. If Angola banned GMOs for this particular reason, Mexico adopted it and found out that they started losing their natural ones, then they had to stop it. They had to ban it. If Mexico did that, several other countries took the same step because they didn't want to lose their natural things, and you accepted it. That means you just signed the death of all your
Death
natural
wa-
variants.
a death warrant,
That's the
basically.
first thing it does. Yes, that's the first thing it does. You lose all your natural seeds, your natural variants. And there are many ways you're going to lose that. One, through open air pollination. Two, the soil is not going to be the soil is not going to sustain it because many of the soil microbes and stuff that's supposed to sustain that are gone, you know. So you're going to start losing your natural stuff. And that's where it leaves us. It creates dependency and on these foreign guys, we begin depending on Monsanto. We begin depending on, and that's the problem. This is one of the reasons why, I mean, anybody with a smartphone can open your phone and the look at Monsanto, who they are, the amount of legal cases they have, and how they have gone around nations trying to colonize their foods. And I mean, that's what we're currently, that's the attack we're currently facing here in Nigeria and in Africa as a whole. And I want to end this interview without talking about Tanzania, who have an active ban on GMOs, but have attained 128% food sufficiency, you know. So it's
Wow.
possible. It's possible. You stop your post-harvest losses. You give your farmers subsidized inputs, organic, natural inputs that's regenerative, so they don't have to come back to you every planting season for seeds. You give them that, you stop your post-harvest losses, you help them with transportation, around the farms, you give them good machinery, you have cold storage for them, you'll be food secure. You'll have food everywhere. You build your biosystems, you build your biosafety, you take out this kind of puppet strings in your biosafety and turn it into biodefense because right now I think we should be talking about biodefense because our ginger just disappeared. Look at what's the conversation on ginger. Suddenly, all our natural Nigeria's ginger is the best in the world, highly preferred. But suddenly, a bag of ginger used to be 25,000 naira. Now it's over 550,000 naira for a bag of
What?
ginger. Yes,
What?
that's the Nigerian ginger, the good
Wow.
one that everyone knows. Now, one of the main things that these guys want to do is to patent the good stuff. So this natural stuff that has been on from generations up till now becomes the expensive organic which only the rich should have access to. And then the poor, they should be eating GMOs that are, of course, cheaper in many countries, like UK, cheaper. The poor should eat that, get, die off. So it's a way to weed out. You're looking at racial cleansing here. We've been trying to get, they've been trying to eliminate what they call the useless eaters. And GMOs is a very good strategy for that. So Africa needs to wake up. We need to wake up to know we're under attack. Our governments need to know that those deals they are signing, those nice things that you see on the website of ATF, is not exactly what you think it is. It's going to put your people in harm's way. We can learn from India that have gone through the same route. India had, at a point, had to now say that GM cuttings were no longer going to be for the smallholder farmers. Because they found out that it was actually an attack on the smallholder farmers. You can't even do mixed cropping with GMs because I mean you can't do mixed cropping with it. How many people have that size of land? It's capital intensive. You're buying the seeds, you have to keep buying the seeds. And it doesn't even deliver on the promises. And then you have the Indian farmers, over 300,000 of them committing suicide. And we're already
Suicide,
seeing
yeah.
frustrations of those in Africa. So we need to wake up Africa, Africa wake up. And that's why we started my organization, to begin to look at creating policies for Africa's development. It's a center for African policy research. That's one of the main things we're missing in Africa. Africa
Good.
lacks her own indigenous studies and research. And that's why people like ATF can come in and tell us what we're supposed to do. Meanwhile, we should be the ones telling ourselves what to do. So we are going to put what we believe in Africa into policies, and we're going to have to research these policies and take this message all across Africa. And that's what we do in CAFRA. So I think
Yeah,
I'm done here. Thank you very much.
yeah. Thank you, Segun. Thank you very much. Once again, just let people know your organization. Just let them tell you exactly what your organization is, and basically because my brother is doing the work, and this is basically how I linked up with him because I've seen him doing the rounds on all the social media, and I had to come bring it down, come talk to him, and we need to create networks, and that's what we did. Tell us more about your organization, and we'll just end it on that note.
All right. So our organization is the Center for African Policy Research and Advisory. I serve as the executive director of that organization, and we are very passionate about developing policies for Africa's development. What we have majorly has our policy drivers, policy documents being used in Africa and not African. You have the SDG goals, you have the Agenda 2063. These two major policy documents are not African in its entirety, especially the SDG goals. So we need new policies for Africa's development. We need to research these policies. We need to find out how Africa can move. And the second organization is the Center for Food Safety and Agricultural Research. The executive director of this organization, his name is Professor Christopher Gamua, is the vice chancellor of the Benue State University of Agriculture, Science and Technology. So, we are working very hard to ensure that we get it right in Africa. And this is going to be done by us, definitely Africans. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you once again, guys. What we've done today, because there's a lot to talk about, we just scratched the surface on one topic: the puppet strings and how our institutions are controlled. And Segun has given us an intensive lesson of how everything's linked together. The web of what's the web of, I don't know what to use there, but the webs that ties everything together. You can actually see, and it basically goes to one place. Follow the money, and what we've concluded is Gates Foundation is behind all this. Guys, Africa, wake up. Anyway, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening for all of you that have been part of this. And I'm going to bring Segun back again because we haven't finished this yet. So we're going to do this again.
I haven't finished. Look,
Yeah.
we didn't even. I have documents. I have a lot to say.
I know. Yeah, don't worry. We're going to do it again, my brother, man. Thank you very much for coming on.
Thank you.
Thanks for watching, everybody. And we'll see you all soon.